Welcome to Podband Pipecast, the premier pipe band podcast.
Yay. That's a true fan right there.
True fan.
I practiced. Because I knew it was coming.
The drive over, you're like, welcome to, no wait.
I did. I was like, wait a minute.
Welcome back, everyone, to Podband Pipecast.
Yay.
We're here with Erica Liu. Erica, thank you for being on the show again.
Mm-hmm. I just waved for the people that can't see.
So Erica is in the Mesa Caledonian Pipe Band also, and she's been on our episodes before, which of course you know because you've listened to all of them.
Yes.
And she was one of our super fans we had on our birthday episode. I guess we called it a birthday episode.
I won the golden recorder.
Yes. Should have brought that.
I have it. It's along with all the other instruments thrown around our house, like all over the place.
All the other trillion instruments you guys have.
So many instruments.
So Erica is the Western United States Pipe Band Association Desert Branch Treasurer.
Wow, you didn't do your research?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was the secretary.
Okay,
before.
so I didn't just make that up.
No, I started as a secretary.
So if you were paying attention to the lore of this podcast, she may have said that she was a secretary on the episode about in the Desert Branch. I don't know.
No, I've been treasurer for, 3 or 4 years.
Well, Kaylee's not paying
Man,
attention
I'm
to
not
the
paying
lore.
attention to the
Go
lore.
back, watch all our
I need to-
episodes, get the lore.
It's okay. It's a lot.
I'm not a true fan, I guess.
Not a true fan of me, I guess.
I'm missing out on the character development.
I'm kidding.
I'm sorry.
No.
Well, so anyway, she's an important person.
Not to Kaylee, though.
No. Clearly not important enough for me to know your title. No.
It's okay.
I mean, secretary, treasurer, it's all the same.
WUSPBA was so convoluted. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah. So WUSPBA Desert Branch hosted an online contest in March of 2021.
Yes, March. Yes.
March is like when it ended. I think you were accepting.
It was during March to take the place of the Phoenix Games.
Okay.
But it was kind of later than the Phoenix Games would have been because we weren't ready.
Understandable.
So.
Yeah. So, we asked Erica on the show to talk about that whole thing, like why do that and how and did it work? What didn't work, if anything didn't work, and would you do it again, and all kinds of stuff. So let's get into it.
All right.
So probably an obvious one, but why did WUSPBA decide to host an online contest?
Right. So the sort of obvious answer is COVID shut down all the Highland games, and people really wanted a space to compete in, and so there was this. There was a whole bunch of them that went forward, and I think the first one I remember was back in September. The Shots and Dykehead over in Scotland, they did one. It was huge, and so we started talking as a branch, sort of, is this something we could pull off? And then WUSPBA did make it a little easier on us. They decided to sort of capitalize on the opportunity, and they set out rules for making online contests sanctioned by the branch. So after that was done in November, we had our AGM after that. The Desert Branch had their AGM after the WUSPBA AGM annual general meeting, just in case there's anyone that doesn't know.
Thank
you. So we had our meeting and we were like, well, we need to do something because we're all just like sitting here. And so, we'd sort of agreed in December of 2020, yeah, well, that sounds great. Let's do one. And then we didn't do anything with it until Elijah Woodward harassed me one day and said, when are you doing this? And so I was like, well, you can help. And he said, okay. So we had a meeting at the end of January and sort of decided to move forward with it. So
Nice.
That's kind of why.
Yeah, shout out to Elijah, by the way.
Yes.
Also on the pod.
Yeah, on the pod. Is that what we're calling it, the pod?
Also on the pod.
Nice. I like it. So hip.
I like it.
Cool.
I'm a fan.
Okay, so you decided in January to do the contest. The contest actually took place in March.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was when submissions you got the submissions, they were judged and everything.
Yes.
What challenges did you encounter with setting up the contest? Which I imagine there were a few.
There were several, only because it turns out that not a single member of the Desert Branch's executive board had ever been a part of, helped with, been a steward, anything for a contest.
Oh, wow.
So we knew exactly nothing about how to go about this. So so that was our first challenge was, hey, does anybody know how to run a contest? And everybody said no. So we had to really lean into WUSPBA's contest rules, which you guys read on the pod.
On the pod.
Yeah.
And as you know, they're pretty kind of extensive. And we had to kind of lean into those and look at what, the offerings were. And we had to kind of review what WUSPBA's new rule was for online contests. And then from there, we reached out to a lot of folks, Kevin Conquest, who happens to be in my home, so that was an easy one. He gave me a lot of kind of advice, but we also did reach out to the WUSPBA solo registrar and secretary, and so that was our sort of first challenge, was how do we do this? And we had to decide what we were going to offer, because the list of what could be offered for each solo, for each instrument, is not necessarily what you want to offer. You don't want to unnecessarily, there's like 8 pipe events and then like 6 snare events, and there's just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember Stuart Baker just randomly, he's the president of the branch, randomly, because I kept hounding him, yo, what are we going to offer these folks? And he finally said, just take the top 2. So we just were like, okay. Top 2 for pipes, and then we did top 1 for each drum offering. And then we debated briefly with having a mini band contest, but the logistics of that were just a little over our head, because nobody so far has done an online actual pipe band contest. They're all been solos, because that's a lot easier than
Also COVID.
with COVID,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do you, because someone, I don't think it was us, but someone threw out an idea at some point in WUSPBA, like, well, maybe we could have everyone record their parts separately and then meld them in together for the pipe band contest. And as we found out, which people who listen to previous episode of the podcast found out, that's actually quite difficult to do. To meld everything together. So we had to sort out all of that. And then this one is, I have a lot to say about this category, so sorry y'all.
Totally
You're gonna get a whole lot of this one. And then we had to figure out how to run it. So of the online contests we'd seen, the 2 major ways people were doing it was submit your video and it gets judged, or a live stewarded. So basically sort of like a Facebook Live, or something where you're literally just sitting there, the judge is on one side of the camera and you're on the other. And we all just decided we wanted to do the video, because we really just didn't have the manpower, the resources to do a stewarded, because to that you have to sit there all day and have one person like, okay, you're coming up, be ready, be at your camera, and like texting and emailing and just making sure everyone's ready. So we said, no, none of that. So we decided to do it just video submission. Next thing, we need to figure out how to get the registrations taken, because we didn't want to use R2. WUSPBA's registration platform is notoriously terrible. And we wanted people from outside of WUSPBA also to be able to participate. And if you run it through R2, they have to sign up as a WUSPBA member and get a WUSPBA solo number and all of that stuff. So we started to dig into what to use. We actually landed on Eventbrite. That actually worked really well. We can talk about that later on, but that worked really well. So we had to do that. And then I had to set up an email, which is so like a basic thing, but like, we're like, how are people going to send us these submissions, right? So I was like, well, none of us have a Desert Branch email except for Stuart, the president of the Desert Branch, but I really didn't want all of it like flooding his official WUSPBA president.
Yeah.
So I created a Gmail promptly lost access to that because I forgot the password and didn't link it to my personal account. So there was no way to recover it.
Oh, no.
So then I had to create a second. And I smartly, if you ever are creating a second email, link it to your personal email so you can recover it. And then from there, the last sort of challenge is we had to figure out how to have submissions sent in, because at the time we were like, well, people would just record it and send us the attachment. Well, it turns out videos are large.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, I guess we're going to have people upload it to YouTube. So that's what we ended up doing. People uploaded to YouTube and sent us unlisted. So it was just like a whole series of steps, which is why we ended up doing it a little later than we'd initially intended, because every time we'd get through a step, we'd be like, well, yeah, but what about this?
Yeah.
And what about this? So it was quite a lot to sort through.
I imagine that actually worked pretty well for participants then, because then if they did a really good job on their solo and they wanted to share it, they could just
make it public.
Yeah, make it public, share the link to other people, whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people were really happy with that option.
Nice.
So
this one isn't on the list, but like when all of you were like, we don't know how to run a games, did the thought cross your mind to not?
Can we just not?
Yes. I remember in that first meeting, we were all kind of like, are we sure we want to do this? Because this seems like a lot. And then we were like, nope, we're going to forge ahead. Yeah. Elijah was on that call and he's like, no, we're doing it. We're making it happen. So
I hope you put him to work.
Yeah, we did. We did put him to work. He helped us with kind of securing some piping judges. Nice. And so yes, we did put him to work. But yes, we did definitely consider not doing it.
That was another question that I was wondering, which once again isn't on the list, but that's okay.
It's okay.
Did you have trouble securing judges? Were there anyone that like was like, I'm sorry, I don't want to do that, like online or?
No, we didn't. They actually were like, yeah, this is great. This sounds great. So we just we picked the first three. We had a piping judge, drum judge, and drum major judge lined up really quickly. But then we realized, and I'll kind of go through this when you ask me about judges later, we realized we needed a second piping judge, and we probably should have had one more piping judge, but we realized we needed a second one because the original judge we'd chosen, Ryan Balchik, WUSPBA has an A and a B grade for judges. So an A judge can judge any grade. A B judge can judge grades 2 and down. It's just a matter of experience, how long you've been on the panel. So we picked Ryan Balchik to start, and then we got a whole bunch of grade 1 folks interested. So we were like, oh, geez. We're going to need another judge. But everybody was like, yeah, that sounds great.
Cool.
I even had one judge offer to do it for free. I didn't let him do it for free, but he was like, I just want to do this. I'm like, oh,
I just want to do something.
Judge again, please.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So what instructions did you provide to the participants?
Yeah. So this was one, when we talk about lessons learned later, I realized when you are providing a whole group of people instructions, you need to be very specific and very detailed. So the sort of instructions we provided, I did pretty much fall back on the WUSPBA contest rules quite a bit. I basically put it on the contestant to it was their responsibility, which is sort of a general, way of doing things with these contests. It's the contestants or competitors' job to know. So we did put that out there at least, and I gave them a link, and I said, go find it and read it. And then just like the basic things, right? We needed to provide the date that the registrations closed, because you had to register, and then the date that the submissions opened, the date the judging would take place, and the date that the announcements would be made, and then who was judging. And we had to advise of a dress code. For the pipers and drummers, there wasn't one. I did encourage them to dress a little nicer. Most of them actually put their uniform on, which kudos to them.
Gotta get in the mode.
Yeah, they had to, right, getting the mindset, I guess. But for the drum majors, the dress code, it was required, the Highland dress, because that's obviously a part of drum majoring. So we had to, communicate all of that. And then we had to explain how to submit multiple entries, which was another one we didn't think of until I started getting questions. And so folks that were for example, someone that wanted to do the grade 3 March MSR and PBROCT, they were like, well, how do we submit all three? I was like, that's an excellent question. So we had to figure out what would be the best practice for that and communicate it. And then we provided tips and tricks for filming, especially for the drum majors, because filming that is really kind of difficult to do on your own. You kind of need someone standing there at the tripod to zoom in when you're farther down the down the path there, and then zoom out when you're coming back. So that was all. That was what we communicated. So
did you make the drum major submit any close-ups of anything?
I asked the drum major judge if he wanted that, just like a close-up of the dress, and he said, no, let's not make him go through that. But I did ask him.
Yeah.
I thought about that.
Because I can imagine, in person, they're like, oh, there's a scuff on your shoe.
They inspect everything.
Yeah. Yes, they do. Yep. And they didn't do that either for the shots to the side. I was surprised because Kevin competed in the shots contest, and I asked him there, do they do in the dress? And they're like, no, you don't even have to wear a Highland dress for that one. So that was really, really nice of them. But yeah, drum majors are a whole nother ball game.
It's so funny because everyone has been in this COVID mindset of you're working from home, you're in your pajamas, and it's like, do I have to get dressed for this? It's a band contest.
I mean, just wear your pajamas.
I'm at home. Do I have to put on clothes?
Pants optional?
Yeah, maybe. I guess kilts. Kilts aren't pants. So.
Maybe some tartan pants. If you buy the right pajamas, they're already tartan.
There we go.
Tartan pajamas.
Some things to learn from COVID. Tartan pajamas for contests.
I agree, actually.
You know how
I'll hardly do that.
At Christmas time, you see people post pictures of their whole family in matching pajamas. Matching pajamas for a band.
There we go.
Ooh, I like that.
And then we could do a band slumber party.
Yes. We could watch the world.
Yes.
We actually did that, not last year, but 2019. We had, at Diane's house, my mom's house, Pipe Sergeant's house had all of the, all right, we're going to watch the worlds. And over here, it's, really late at night. It started, I forget when it started, but...
Or, really early in the morning.
Really early in the morning.
Stayed up
4 a.m. Something crazy.
So we were just after band practice, let's just all go chill. So I could imagine that being a great thing for the World's Watch Party next year.
It.
That's a plan. Put that in the books.
Yeah.
Next time there's a Worlds.
We'll do a pajama set. Mace Caledonian pajama set.
Pajama set. We'll just be chilling, watching the worlds, and playing a tune, I guess.
I am a fan.
It's going to happen now.
I'm a fan. I heard the question about the cowboy hat, and I was in support.
Yeah.
It'd be so shady.
Yeah.
Like a brim.
Makes more sense. If you didn't listen to that episode, you missed out.
Yes. Go back and listen to the one
lore.
with Kevin Conquest talking about the cowboy hat or something. Whatever it was.
I think it was the Gale episode.
The Gale episode. There we go. Sorry.
I can't believe you don't know the title.
I know, my brain.
I thought you were a true fan.
I'm a true fan. That's hilarious.
All right, well, getting back on track. That's okay. What instructions did... Oh.
Yeah, 4.
Oh, number 4, okay. Did you receive any feedback about this online contest from the participants?
We did, not a whole ton, but all of it was thank you for doing this. It was very people were extremely happy to just have an opportunity to play and at least do a solo. I wish we could have figured out the logistics of a band contest, but definitely people were just really thrilled.
Good.
So, yeah.
You didn't have anyone that was like, "Oh, this is terrible. I don't never do this again."
No, people were happy, and I think some folks really enjoyed the online contests because it meant they weren't standing directly in front of a judge.
It's probably less nerve-wracking.
Yes.
Too. You can also stop and restart.
Yes, you can prepare and do your best.
Although I will say, after making recordings for students various times, it's really hard actually to record yourself playing.
Yes.
I mean, you have as much time as you need to because you're not live, obviously, but it's like as soon as you turn on that camera, I would rather be playing in front of someone because it's like, I forget what I'm doing.
Fair enough.
How do I play this? It's just mass bands tunes. I don't know. Or then you watch it back and you notice yourself like doing weird things and you're like, oh, I got to redo it. And then it just takes so much longer than you think it will.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure there were folks who took multiple takes of their submission. So.
So what instructions did you provide the judges?
So that one was quite a bit easier than having to provide instructions to the competitors because we basically had the WUSPBA rules to fall back on because WUSPBA had finalized the format as a sanctioned format. We were able to just kind of say here, use WUSPBA judging sheets, use the final sheets. For the final ranking for the top 6 is what they have to do. So they do each competitor gets their sheet, and then they have a sheet where they put the top 6. So they'd use those WUSPBA sheets, which we got from the solo registrar, and basically from there it was like watch these videos and judge them. We didn't provide any feedback on only watch it once like you would have in a live event or anything. I kind of felt like, yeah, if they want to sit there and
scrutinize everything.
Watch one guy, 10 times, that works.
I'm curious, did the judges print out the sheets and handwrite their comments, or did they do like a fillable PDF, or do you know?
We ended up having to get the Word doc from the solo registrar, and then they used that as they just were able to fill it in.
So it was legible.
Exactly.
For once.
For the first time ever.
No offense. We've done a few episodes did an episode with Ed Best about judging, and we had Ryan Balchuk, who's one of your piping judges, on a couple episodes, and we talked about that. We're like, why can you never read their handwriting? Well, they're writing fast, and then it's in the moment, and some people just have bad handwriting, and none of that really mattered in this. So.
No, it was really quite effective because they could just type out their comments and really neatly done. I feel like the pages too were more full than what they normally would have been because they probably went back and watched it and
they could pause.
They could pause and write. Exactly.
That was bad. Do this and then resume. Okay, that was bad too.
Yeah, so I really think that actually kind of goes into why this is like kind of an effective format, and I think solos really like it because the judges have a little more time to provide actual effective feedback instead of just really being pressed to get it all in while listening.
Yeah.
So. I think there's some give and take with it because the piper could play over and over again until they get it perfect, but the judge can also watch it over and over again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And judge harder.
And I know for certain our drum major judge did do that. He just told all of us I had to watch these several times because there was so much to watch, and I'm like, yes.
Well, then I guess for a participant, kind of the negative side of it is that if you're in person, a lot of times I've seen after your contest, the judge will call you over and say, hey, this little part that you played wasn't quite right. Let me just explain it to you because what they write on the sheet is often not descriptive enough or whatever, So if you're in person, you can do that. But I guess even we have such an open community here that I'm sure you could reach out to a judge afterwards and be like, hey, can you get on a Zoom and show me what you meant by that or whatever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like all of the judges would have been willing to do that.
So did you receive any feedback from the judges about the format?
Yes. It was positive. They did like the format. Like I said, they did say it was great to be able to watch it and kind of rewatch. But the one thing we did get some feedback on was we didn't have enough piping judges. So as someone who's never done a solo contest, because that's just not my jam. I did not realize that for pipers, especially because there's so many entrants, games usually have like 3, 4, sometimes 5 solo piping judges, and sometimes, depending on the games, like a couple drumming judges. So we had 2 piping judges, and what happened is I got all the submissions in, and originally Ryan was going to do grades 2 through 4, because there is no grade 5 solo, and then Ken Sutherland was going to do grade 1, and I got these submissions in, and it ended up with Ken having like 8 and Ryan having over 30.
Oh boy.
And I was like, oh no.
Jeez.
So I said to them, I said, hey, is there any way you want to divvy this up? And luckily they were both really good sports, and they did end up divvying it up, which ended up being a little more work for me, because instead of just being able to plug each contestant's video in based on their grade, I had to sort of figure out who was doing which event in grades 2, 3, and 4. But but that was a feedback that Ken Sutherland, he was very nice about it, but he was like, so typically with a solo contest, you'd want to have a few more people ready to go at least, because this is quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I apologize to Ryan and Ken for that. But that was the only real kind of feedback we got on that. Just making sure in the future to have at least one more in the wings in case we get a whole bunch of entries, because we had, I want to say, somewhere between 50 and 60 total entries between the pipes, drums, and 3 drum majors. So
It's pretty good.
it was quite a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's really good
yeah.
participation.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think worked well with the online contest format?
So it actually just really ended up being a great format for the most part for solos. I can't speak to how it would be for a band contest, but for solo contests, actually ended up being really great, especially for pipers. With the pipers, you just, you turn your camera on and you play. There's no need for like a background track or setting up a field to so for the pipes, it's actually a really effective format, because they can just send their submission in and get some feedback. So that was definitely probably the best part about it, especially, like I said, especially for pipers.
So, I don't remember if I saw this on the online registration form. Did you charge a fee for this?
Yes, we did, which was I should have mentioned that one of the challenges with choosing what platform to use to take registrations is we needed to be able to accept money through the whatever site we chose. So yes, we did charge, I want to say it was $20 a person, not per event. So they could do 3 events, $20, because that's how it would have been normally at a Highland Games. Is you just pay your registration fee and then you do whatever events are offered. So,
was there anything that didn't work so well about this format?
we did have some issues with drummers not really I don't want to say understanding.
Drummer.
But definitely a concern about how do I have the pipe track piped in, because that's a requirement in the WUSPBA rules, right? So you have to have that pipe track piped in, and then how do I play over that? So we had to sort of sort that out. There were a few solutions. I think most people just had like a speaker with the pipe thing coming, and then they just played to it. One guy overdubbed the pipe to his snare playing, which, that worked for him. He just kind of started the pipe track where his playing started and let it roll.
Let it roll.
Drum roll. We have to get one pun per episode.
That was a good one. I walked right into that. So we did have that challenge with the drummers, and then the drum majors. I did have a question about how do I film myself, because I think their field was to be 64 paces, which is actually considerably smaller than what they would normally do. If I get this wrong, Kevin can just correct me. I think they normally would do 76 to 80 paces, but for the purposes of getting everything onto the camera, they had to. So what that actually did for some of the drum majors is throw them off, because they're used to having routines set to these to this 76 to 80 paces. So we did have some challenges there, but for the most part, everyone was just pretty thrilled to be able to do this.
Yeah, how did that? Because the drum majors also probably had to have their music playing.
Yes.
And then they're at the other end of the field, so if they can't hear it, it's like.
So that was another challenge that we sort of did a tips and tricks on. And we actually figured out that this worked well when Kevin was doing his submission for shots. Is he had the music going, and then in order to make sure that they could hear it on the film, he was able to just kind of overdub it. Like,
okay, so he had like headphones or something.
yeah, he had his headphones in with the music going, and then he was able to insert it into the exact same track that he was listening to. You wouldn't want to use a different track because your beats are going to be completely off. Like, so that's what I actually told these drum majors, like, just do your field with your headphones in, and then overlay that track in, and they must have all figured it out because it worked out.
It takes a little bit of technical know-how, but I guess
yeah,
if they figured it out,
either that or someone just had a really loud loudspeaker blasting some music.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Well, and the problem with that too is when even if you have the speaker right in the middle, the distortion from the sound versus the video, if you're all the way down at the other end, you're gonna look like you're behind. So
that's true.
It was really just like when we were trying to figure out how to do this, it was just like, oh my Lord, there's a lot that goes into making this look, look right.
Yeah, makes you appreciate having an actual band there.
Yes.
To play.
Right, because I had always been a person that said, well, instead of making a band come and play for these drum majors, why don't you just do a recording? And actually, this experience has kind of showed me that for these drum majors, it's actually better to have a band that can be there, and the drum major judge can tell the band when to start, tell the band when to stop, and it's actually much better.
Yeah, as much as we don't like playing 6/8
over and over
50 times. There was that one time, I forget which games it was at, but we were the host band, or duty band or whatever they call it, and we played, I think it was like I stopped counting after like 15 times.
I think it was Costa Mesa, because I remember this a couple years ago.
Yeah.
We stopped, we had to stop flourishing because our arms were rubber.
We were dying.
Like, we still have a contest.
Like, we have to compete in 2 hours.
Yeah, we played 6/8, I want to say 20 times. There was a huge drum major field that year.
Yeah. Which is great for like the number of contestants, but as a band playing it, it was like, oh man.
Yes.
Dying.
Yes. So lesson learned.
Yeah.
So do you think or hope that maybe the Desert Branch will do another online contest in the future?
Yes. Potentially. So we had already discussed it. I think we were like very excited by this idea, and so we were like, we're just going to do this once a quarter, and then we realized how much work it was. Yeah. And so I think where we're at with that at this point is once people are able to go back, because a lot of Highland games are starting up again. So I kind of want to see, what people's appetite is for that after they can compete in person again. Because if people are still like, hey, let's do a competition, then sure, maybe we'll do like an annual competition for folks. It's definitely not out. It's not ruled out. Because now that we've done it, it's
easy peasy.
It's easy to replicate. So
yeah,
so definitely.
Yeah, I could see it maybe in like the off season, like after, I guess, what is the last games of the season? We got Pleasanton, and then we got Tucson potentially. If there's a contest there, and then after that, it's kind of like
open until either Queen Mary games, or if they come back, or Phoenix games. So there's definitely that space in there where people can compete.
Yeah, that's one thing I was thinking about. Like, what after we can all go back to normal. Quote, I'm doing air quotes. What is going to be normal? Like, what lessons have we learned that we're going to like keep wanting to do? Or what are we going to be like, no, we're done with that. No more online stuff.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what we're waiting to see is, do people want to do this again? If people ask for it, we'll happily do it again.
Nice.
So
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
One final lesson I learned. I forgot to talk about this. Make sure when you do these contests, if you're within WUSPBA, that you ask for the soloist WUSPBA registration number, because I didn't know. And I had 4 judges going, oh, hey, why don't we have numbers for these people? And then I had to send an email out like a jerk. Be like, hey, can you send me your WUSPBA number? So make sure you include that on that registration form. I think that's my final thought on that.
It's still haunting you to this day.
It is. It was definitely a oh no. So like the judges are trying to judge and they're like, we need this number so we can send it to the registrar. Oh no. So just make sure.
Yeah.
I think that's all I really had. Just be organized. If you're someone listening to this that's like, yeah, I want to do an event. It takes a lot of organization. And this is whether you're in person or online. I had a very big spreadsheet with lots of links, columns, rows, like all sorts of stuff. It took a lot of organization and it was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work.
That's what I was going to say. I am really impressed that you and whoever, it was probably mostly you and a few other people, that you got it organized starting with like end of January where you're like, all right, we're doing this. And then like end of March, which was the deadline for submissions or deadline for judging or whatever. It was like, you did all of it in basically a month and then started it and then it finished. It's like,
yes. And that was not my decision. When we started talking about it in January, I was like, right, okay, so maybe we'll do this in June, July. And they were like, nope, we're going to do it in March because we aren't going to have Phoenix. And so I'm like, okay. Yeah. And then it fell on me. I ended up doing a lot of the work, not because anybody else didn't want to, but because I'm the treasurer. So when we decided not to use R2, we needed to find a way to get the money into our bank account. And as the person in charge of that bank account, it fell on me to find the appropriate platform. And by the time I found the appropriate platform, I was like, well, I might as well just create the registration.
Yeah.
And I might as well just do this and create the email and create this and all these other things. So it really just was just kind of out of my role that I did a lot of it. But I had a lot of help from, just the committee and the branch. I really did. I got a lot of feedback and a lot of help from Teresa Black and Lauren Boytel and Stuart Baker and Elijah and some of the other folks. So it was a lot.
It's over now. It's okay.
It is. No, it is. It's
all
good. It's all
Except
good.
you got to get ready for the next quarter. Like what?
I know. Like, we gotta have it ready by June.
Once a quarter.
Once a quarter. Ready by June. So.
Man. Well, good thing is, we're going back in person soon, and whether you do this again or not, you did it.
Well, it was good for me too because the Phoenix Games are always looking for someone to help organize that pipe event. I don't know why, but the piping and drumming event at Phoenix, it's like sometimes a musical chairs of folks organizing it. And I've said in the past I would help, but now I'm like, I actually know what to do now. So it's probably just a good experience for me.
Yeah.
In those terms.
Yeah.
As well.
Really interesting too to know the ins and outs of like I didn't know how many piping judges they have at Highland Games.
I just knew the band contest.
Yeah.
We had 4 judges. So I was like, all right, we need 4 judges for solos.
Bet that piping judge is real happy you paid them now.
Exactly. That was the drum major judge that said he would do it.
My bad.
Dave Melton. He was like, I'll do it free. I'm like, no.
You don't understand what we're asking.
I probably should give a shout out to all the judges. I've listed all of them. So we had Ken Sutherland, Ryan Balchuk on pipes. We had BJ Gunn for the drum judge. And then we had Dave Melton for drum majors. So they did an excellent job.
Nice.
It's great to work with all of them. Cool.
Shout out to those folks.
Yay.
Yay. All right. Well, I think that's all we got for today.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us again.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me to talk about WUSPBA.
Yay! Let us know if you want to know more about WUSPBA or whatever.
The association that governs pipe bands.
I know. We've interviewed quite a few WUSPBA people now. It's you, Ed used to be WUSPBA president, Ryan Balcha, Kevin. They're all like, people want to know about WUSPBA? I'm like, yeah.
Well, it's such an odd thing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it's like a hobby. It's just one of those things where you think, oh, we just get together and we play. Well, there's rules.
Yeah.
And someone needs to administer those rules. So it's one of those things where when you tell people that there's an association for bagpipers, they give you this like, what? It's a weird look. I've had people at work, because they'll ask me, have you ever organized something? And I'll be like, yes, actually I have. And let me tell you about it. And they'll be like, wait, there's an association for bagpiping. And I'm like, yes. And drumming.
And there are rules. Yeah.
So yes, it's an interesting organization.
All right, well, we'll be in your earbuds again next week.
Yeah,
I guess.
Bye.
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 Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed this show, then support us on Patreon for exclusive content, as well as the video of us recording this. We'll have special exercises we'll be writing, as well as tips and tricks with tenor drumming and other instruments to come. Subscribe to us on YouTube for some tenor tutorials and possibly other tutorials later on. And like us on Facebook at Podband Pipecast.